Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Training, Learning, and Development community. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a bunch of people already in. Oh, man, more than I could probably name. But there's Jane and Toddy's in. Trish, Kim, Dan. Thanks for being in today. So, making the most of LinkedIn. This one, I've gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of messaging, like behind the scenes from folks that were really looking forward to this. And so I wanted to start out just sort of to tell you about like my perspective on LinkedIn before, so you know like where I'm coming from. I am not at all like a LinkedIn power user. In fact, I'm not very much like into social networks at all. But I do, for TLDC, regularly go onto LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and stuff and just try to keep up with stuff. Social networks tend to get in the way of my own productivity that I found just over the last few years, especially. So I tend to avoid them. So I'm really interested in doing this because I know that my presence and TLDC's presence could definitely use some help on the LinkedIn side. And that's where it seems like everybody is. So we've got a panel of experts that are up on the screen right now. You may or may not know all of them. I'm just going to go clockwise from what I'm seeing. So the first person to the right of me is Devlin Peck. If you have to know Devlin, I see Devlin everywhere because whenever I do go to LinkedIn, I see stuff that he's posting. I'm subscribed to his email newsletter. I also sometimes lurk in on the instructional design subreddit and see him being praised effusively over there on a pretty regular basis. So we've got Devlin today. We've got Tamika J. Harris, who has actually been a guest on TLDC in the past, and I'm going to post the link to her recording from a couple years ago, which I listened to just really, really quickly last night, and it was just kind of a crack up. I'm sort of wondering like where you are now compared to where you were 2 years ago. And I'm going to bring some of that stuff up. And then of course, Rubina Halwani, who regularly hosts occasional conversations here on TLDC. And I see Rubina on LinkedIn on a pretty regular basis and Twitter sometimes. And so I'm glad that you guys have the time to spend with us today. And hopefully we're going to be able to provide some value for the audience. I am going to bring Toddy up at some point and Delia if she's here. And if anybody else has any interest in coming up and having some screen time, let me know. We'll see if we can fit you in. So I'm going to get started here. I'm going to just start with Devlin on this one. What social networks are you currently active in, Devlin?
I'd say I'm most active on LinkedIn for sure. I try to post some things on Twitter. I don't think I really understand the Twitter algorithm super well, but sometimes I get a couple likes or retweets over there. So that's that. I have a Slack channel. I don't know if that's a social network, but there's a bunch of instructional designers and e-learning developers in there. So I share stuff on there sometimes too. And yeah.
The bulk of your time is on LinkedIn though?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to, that's kind of what I'm going after. And Tamika, same thing. Like what other social networks are you on?
Yeah. So LinkedIn for sure. Instagram comes second for me. I've been really working on building up that outlet. Twitter is third. It's not as well loved for me. I'm still like Devlin trying to figure that out. But, and I think I've been trying to peck at Pinterest a little bit. So those are the ones for me. And then, of course, trying to always play with YouTube. So, yeah.
And how about you, Rubina?
I think I do LinkedIn about 75% of the time and Twitter about 25% of the time. I've learned a few things of how to get, your likes and stuff like that on both places. And those are my work-related social media. So I have some others, but not related to work. So those are my two main outlets.
So good to know. So primary focus for the group of you is LinkedIn. So So I guess that's one of the reasons why you're here, because that's pretty much your chosen, your weapon of choice on the, on the social media landscape is the LinkedIn thing. And just so that the audience has it, your current roles right now. So Devlin, you're a freelancer, right?
Right.
And so when you're going to be talking about LinkedIn, you're going to be kind of from that perspective. You're going to be looking at it from that freelancer role. And Tamika, you're in the healthcare industry, right?
Yep, I work full time at a healthcare company, and I'm a senior instructional systems designer for them.
Yeah. See, and so that's a little different because you have such a just a promotional sort of brand, and I was just like going through some of your stuff last night, your website, and it's absolutely brilliant the way that you have it all put together. And I would think that you were like part of an agency or as a freelancer or something, because it is so like incredible the way you put it together.
Thank you. Well, outside of my 9 to 5, I am building a brand, Hello Tamika Prismatic ISD. So just an opportunity and outlet for me to just kind of like learn from others, share, like Devlin, just kind of share what we learn and know along the way.
Nice. And then Rubina, you work for, it was the state of Utah, right?
Utah. So I'm in the government. And so it's a smaller group of IDs that are in government, but it's growing every time. We're actually growing, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, I love it. I love where I'm at. I get to work from home, so that's like the best thing.
Yay!
Yay! I finally got a remote one. Yay! So that's a cool thing. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start with Tamika here. I'm pasting in her original recording from almost exactly 2 years ago. It's October 9th, 2018 when you showed up. If you guys even watch the beginning of it, you'll see Tamika talk about how she was a newbie, but she felt like she was just getting to kind of the graduating from the newbie side of things to becoming I don't know, an intermediate instructional designer or something. But now look at you, you're a senior instructional designer. And at that time, 2 years ago, I don't recall whether or not, how was your LinkedIn profile then? And what made you decide to really focus on it?
So it was about 2018, I think that's what you're referring to. I started really paying attention to my LinkedIn profile probably around 2016 when I started my career in instructional design. And I still count myself, Luis, as a newbie because I'm just still learning, getting my feet on the ground, still building traction in what I learn and know and ultimately how I grow. I don't know what initially made me start to really focus on my LinkedIn profile other than wanting to get super laser focused in my craft, super laser connected to the people in this field, and just really start to hone in on what I wanted LinkedIn to be for me. And that turned into me desperately, feverishly, taking out people who I knew in my personal life, friends, like people who had nothing to do with where I wanted to go. I started to extract them from my follow and my connecting circle on LinkedIn. And it was no shade to them. It's just that I wanted LinkedIn to serve a specific purpose. I wanted it to solely be that when I'm there, I'm speaking to, connecting with, growing alongside people who are in learning and development, period, hard stop.
Interesting. So now I want to ask Devlin and Rubina about that. Is that something that you guys have ever done? Do you actually weed out, like Kim was saying, any of your followers or your connections to make sure that your LinkedIn audience or connections are just very focused?
Devlin, you want to go first?
Short answer for me is no. Yeah.
I'm glad you're being honest. I don't either. I never even thought about that, but it's probably something that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I know there's like a follower cap, I think, or like a connection cap at like 50K. So I'm imagining maybe one day, like years down the line, I might have to like just go through and just remove like thousands of connections. But for now, I'm just I haven't done that. But to be fair, also at the same time, when I was building my LinkedIn, I was just requesting with L&D people for the most part, and L&D adjacent people like graphic designers, voiceover people, stuff like that. Yeah. So I didn't really have a lot of family or friends or anything on LinkedIn because I built it for this field.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Rubina?
I come from a little bit. So I was on LinkedIn very early because I was very early into the internet and things like that when that stuff came out. And so I was on LinkedIn. I always had a profile. It was there. Never really got any career connections from there until about 2016, 2018. In that interim, it feels like there was a big shift happening in LinkedIn. Or that's when I started to notice that shift happen. People were posting on there, connecting on there, talking on there. And then I got very focused, just like Tamika. I started connecting with a lot of people in the field because I needed to know more people in my field and be more resourced and learn. I felt new as well too. And I just didn't know enough about things that I needed to figure out to solve problems. And so then I made a goal for myself to connect to like 100 people a month. And then I started connecting. And then from that, I started seeing what they were posting about and paying attention and the quality of the content, and just really learning a lot. And then kind of going from there, then I started chirping in a little bit. So I wasn't posting immediately like, hey, this is me and this is what, there was nothing for me to say. I was like more just gleaning in and learning.
Right.
And then after a while, I'm like, oh, wait, I have a thought. I have an opinion about what somebody just said. And I'll see if I can interject and see how people receive it. And the reception I got to my posts were positive. And so I felt that I was getting an alignment in the community, which was really nice for me, good feedback for me.
So do you think, I mean, is that an actual, would that be a tip to say, like, as you make connections, to actually curate them and make sure that they're relevant to the industry that you're in? Is that something that you guys would say, hey, that's worked for me? I mean, Devlin obviously has not had to do that yet, but do you think that's the case? Like Tamika, do you, like, when you see those connections come in, if it's somebody, it's like, hey, I see, well, because I get these things every day. I see that you know how to do marketing. I'm a marketer too. And it's like, I actually don't want to have anything to do with other marketers right now. So, and so I usually ignore those requests. But like, you have a media and arts background, Tamika. Do you still connect with people that are in media and arts, or do you just like keep it strictly instructional design?
Well, although I do have a more stricter strategy with my LinkedIn profile, I certainly, like Devlin and Rubina, like connect with my adjacent brothers and sisters out there who are voiceover actors or, LMS administrators or, people who are like cousins to what we do. So but to answer your question directly, I mean, if they're doing video and maybe some broadcasting, I might have some outliers in that way, but I'm not necessarily interested in just people who have a title under their name that has nothing to do with where my focus is.
Right.
And so I'm very strict. So I do get people who knock on my LinkedIn door and they're like, hey, let me in. And I'm like, X.
Yeah,
God bless you. X.
And and Tamika, the thing with your presence on LinkedIn, it looks like your website and all the other things that you kind of have going on. I've seen that you do, like, you've done broadcasts on LinkedIn. It just seems like everything kind of points towards LinkedIn. The things that when you create, you're always thinking kind of as LinkedIn is the center of your presence. Is that the case? Because it kind of feels like it just drives everything to that page.
like Rubina mentioned, LinkedIn in 2016 did a shift, and I noticed it too. And I felt like I was starting to just kind of like be in community with people. As I started to get focused on who I wanted to connect with, I started to feel a community. I started to feel like if I went out of my imaginary LinkedIn profile stoop, I would see all my LinkedIn folks and all of their conversations and get to share them and be a part of that vibe. And so, yeah, I mean, LinkedIn has turned out to become kind of like a neighborhood.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see all kinds of folks even in this room who are just like, hey, Tamika, and I know I've seen them, I've connected with them, we've DM'd, we've had moments offline, inline,
Mhm.
online, and it's like this family of colleagues that I just never even knew existed. And so it's just like it just continues to like connect. And folks like Dana, so many people who have their own communities outside of LinkedIn. You get to be a part of that. Yolanda,
Mhm.
it's tons of people. And so it just starts to really become a part of my texture, my fabric every day. And that was not the case before 2016.
Okay.
So building your profile, building your community, it doesn't happen overnight. It definitely takes years. It takes some
Mhm.
time. But
Mhm.
when you're there, you feel it. You start to really feel the vibe and appreciate everyone's contributions.
No, that's awesome. Devlin, how much of LinkedIn is part of your brand?
I would say a big part. I mean, like Tamika is saying, it's kind of like, it's kind of like a bit one of the biggest platforms to like connect with the community. And how I've used LinkedIn has changed. So I think I probably started using it in 2017 when I was doing my master's program, and I was like, I want to build my freelance business. I need to use some social media here. And I don't know how I got this impression, but I maybe from asking some other IDs, but I'm like, okay, so everyone's on LinkedIn and Twitter. Like that was my impression at the time. So on LinkedIn at first, I just like keyword optimized my profile, tried to make sure my about thing was like looking good. And I was trying to direct people to my website, which was just a portfolio at the time, because I was trying to like get a job or land clients. So that was like my main goal. I was like, I just want to use LinkedIn to, to have some new career opportunities basically, and make sure that people can find me. And that's what happened. And I don't think my freelance business would have grown at all if it wasn't for LinkedIn, because before people were finding me on Google, that's how these hiring managers or whatever it was, that's how they were finding me for projects. So they would look up e-learning developer or instructional designer. They'd come across my site. I'd say, contract ID or freelance e-learning developer. And then it's like, here's my portfolio, devlinpeck.com. They'd go there and then they'd shoot me an email. Oh, I found you on LinkedIn and checked out your portfolio. I want to discuss this project.
Mhm.
So that's how I was using it at first. And that's how I basically got my business off the ground. But, I spent a bunch of time and effort building up content so I could be found on Google. And now I use LinkedIn more as, a way to connect with other professionals. I started posting at some point, and I think most of my posts are to share some of my content. But you can tell, like, the posts that do well are the posts where you're like generating discussion and like actually helping the discussion move along, and people are getting some sort of value from the discussion. And it does help. Sometimes I share a piece of content like no code for e-learning articles, and people just like love the content and share it all over. But a lot of the time, the posts that do well are the ones where people want to engage and contribute. And that of course helps the algorithms too. If there's 50 people commenting on a post, that's going to get in front of all of their audiences and networks. So.
Well, I have so many questions about all of that, just especially creating discussion and generating content. But I wanted to ask Rubina, because obviously I think LinkedIn has been extremely important to both Devlin and Tamika, your careers so far. But Rubina, how about LinkedIn? How has it affected your career? And has it been beneficial in any way?
Oh, absolutely. I think for me, pre-2016 or whenever that shift happened, it wasn't my main source for looking up work or finding work. And then thereafter, once I grew my base and once I started connecting more and more to people and people started knowing who I was, and the kind of work that I could do and the skills that I had, then they started contacting me. And that was really the rewarding piece. And then it just grew from there. And I'm like, it's like this light bulb moment. Oh, that's how this works. So if you have a presence, if people know who you are, it's about visibility essentially, for me. And I just love it. And then I was able to get work from there thereafter from LinkedIn specifically. So that was really, really good. In either people contacting me through the DMs and or people reaching out to me because they saw my LinkedIn profile. So employers are definitely looking for it. It's
Wow,
the first
so-
thing they have to look
Yeah,
for.
it has been important to your career to be to have a presence on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
That's
I've
great.
had recruiters connect with me in my
All the time.
DMs. We call it DMs in the inbox, and it is so super transformative.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, and I want you guys to know there are some, I mean, I want to talk about some specifics about, improving your LinkedIn profile and doing all of that stuff. We'll get to that, but more than anything, I am actually going to post Devlin's newest article on using LinkedIn effectively, which I don't know if you haven't promoted this. I think you're still, maybe are you still kind of
Not yet. Yes, I saw that you were doing this session, and it was like the day after I just published it. And yeah, it probably wasn't. I'm not going to really share it widely till next week or so. But yeah, feel free to share it here. I mean, it's super relevant.
Exclusive.
Yeah, we're definitely
exclusive. Yay. We're so
Yeah, an exclusive. Yeah.
I think that this is going to be like kind of the definitive like L&D guide to having a good LinkedIn profile. I was going through it and I'm like, I might as well just cancel this discussion and just post this because Devlin's article is so good. I don't want people to jump off and just start reading his article, but just stick around because you're going to learn some other stuff. In fact, like here's my next question. Like for Tamika, we were discussing offline, like in messaging about your profile engagement and how at one point you had like 1,000 visits to your profile and that's pretty amazing. Can you talk a little bit about that and like what the scenario was and how you got so many people to engage on your profile and that's a big deal, especially if you're somebody that does any kind of funneling or just trying to get engagement.
Yeah. Just to be very clear, for me, I am a very authentic, like type of person. So I'm not out to just connect with people just to get something or get them to buy something or get them to do something. It's just generally being genuine and caring and being authentic and showing up. That's really what it's about for me. And so I started noticing, and this is something that everybody has in your LinkedIn profile on the homepage where you like see all of your accomplishments and your resume, basically. There's a little bar underneath of your title, if you will, that says on one side it says like kind of like people. It says a number of how many people who have searched for you or you turned up in searches or something, and then there's another number that says kind of like how many people visited your profile. And it doesn't mean that many people visited your profile in a specific day. It's just a specific window of time. And so back in 2016, leading up to that 2018 moment here on Crowdcast, I started seeing those numbers shift and move and change. And I started paying more attention to that. And lo and behold, after years of connecting with people, being present, sharing my own opinion or sharing the links of others, just being genuine, just being Tamika out in these streets in the LinkedIn world, that number got up to the number that people visited my profile. That number got up to like 300, 500. 800 and one day like 1,000, and I was like, whoa, and then so I I assume that that is a number that you can just kind of see how your LinkedIn page or profile is doing. And it gives you a meter kind of how to, you know, assume how well you're connecting with people and how well your connections are kind of moving and shaking. I say it in my terms. I'm not some analytical guru, all
Right.
that kind of thing. Now, I will say that when I'm actively engaging or doing some sort of live something, that number jumps up.
Okay.
When I am not, that number comes down. But even as I am not actively engaging with people, that number right now for me is the number where people are coming to my profile is like over 675 or so, and it's just resting there. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't go too much lower than that. So over time, as you continue to have a strategy and a plan for your LinkedIn profile, you can start to use those numbers to kind of give you an idea of what's happening with your algorithms and your placement out there in the LinkedIn space.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, there's okay. So, how much time do you actually strategize your LinkedIn presence? Like, Kim is asking, how much time per day does it take? Because it seems kind of prohibitive to me and for my workload. Like, do you work on a regular basis or plan like out this is what my week on LinkedIn is going to be like? Or do any of you guys do that? I'm just curious.
No, I don't. I
Yeah.
know there are other people who do, but I don't.
I don't know if I plan it so much. Like I'm going to do this and I'm going to set that up, and that's just way too organized for me, or too, robotic. It feels like. Then I come off as a robot, always just shelling out posts. But I think it's more of the access routes that I have. It's on my iPhone. I have it. It's my app. It's in there. So if I'm having a thought, who is it? I follow Ant Pugh. He's a great guy to follow on LinkedIn. And he said, if you have a question that's on your mind, something that's field related, post, and you figured out some solution to it or whatever, post that on your LinkedIn. You'll be surprised how many other people resonate with that same type of question and also want to participate in that thing. And it raises your analytics, it raises your algorithms, everything that Tamika's talking about. Your numbers are going to go up, your followers will go up, the requests will go up, your X's are going to go up. So all of that fun stuff will happen to you if you spend in that time. And it's just on my phone, and it's very easy to do.
Right. Devlin, how about you? Like, do you strategize your LinkedIn stuff?
So again, like I was saying earlier, I think lately for me, LinkedIn has been primarily like a content distribution network, I would say. So my LinkedIn posts kind of align with like the content that I'm working on. So if I make a YouTube video or I make a new article or a tutorial, like it's really for people in my LinkedIn network, because I only produce content really for IDs and e-learning developers. So, so whenever I have a piece of content, I write a LinkedIn post for it in probably like 5 minutes. So I think I used to like when I was first getting started, I'm like, oh man, like everyone's going to see this, like this has to be perfect. But now I just, I try to generate some interest in the first couple of lines. I try to give some background about the piece of content and how it may help. And then, the link is in the comments, throw a few tags on there and drop a link. So the post creating the content is like the longest part. I mean, making the LinkedIn post only takes, 5 minutes on average, I would say. But where the time is spent, because whenever I make one of these posts, like I'm opening LinkedIn every 10 minutes or something, I have it in another tab, because every time someone comments, like I want to comment, like respond right away to like, one, help the algorithms, like two, keep engagement going. So that's where I would say you do need to like be around all day, but that's like the fun part, is like engaging with people and reading what they have to say and, trying to keep the discussion going. So yeah.
So it takes time. I mean, it can take time. There's kind of like this side conversation going on about LinkedIn versus Twitter, right? Because Twitter, what I'm seeing is people are like, it's faster, it's easier. You just go in, and plus it's limited to just whatever 230 characters or whatever it is. I can never remember that number, but so it's just like boom, and that's it. You can't, you can't really, you know how much time you're actually going to spend on Twitter, just whatever, creating a post or whatever, because it's just really limited. But LinkedIn can be a whole different ball game, I think, because it's unlimited and it can go. And also, really, for me, that's the terrifying part, is somebody that doesn't really participate much in social networks, is just when people start commenting and following and doing all that stuff, and then all of a sudden you have to engage in your conversation and in the conversation, and and for me, like, I've got a 6-year-old that wants to do Lego or something, so it's and I have to have my priorities.
Exactly.
But
I think I also have kids too and stuff like that, so it is a I now don't feel that I have to engage every time I post anything. I can, if I've got time, I can check back in a week. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a continual conversation. It's there. So when I have time, I can do it, or I just throw it out there so that it's benefiting other people, and they're posting and they're commenting and they're getting out of it whatever they want. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think that there are a couple different strategies here. Like, Devlin, Tamika, you guys are talking about the algorithm and helping the algorithm. And so that means that you've got to engage with the content, right?
Yeah, I just feel like have you ever been, and this is an open question, like, have you ever been in a room or a space where you're talking, want to engage, but nobody hears you? I just kind of feel like some social medias are that way. Like for me, I just feel like Twitter is like, I could be saying something, but nobody's going to see it. Like, I just feel like that. LinkedIn, I could be like, hey, y'all, this is happening, such and such. And I get instant, like feedback or whatever. And so I feel like on LinkedIn, there's just way more visibility. And I feel like LinkedIn is like old school, what social media used to be, like Facebook. When I was on Facebook a lot, I would say something and would actually.
Oh no!
Darn.
It was a phone call came in. I feel like people could see. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like LinkedIn is like McDonald's apple pies from the 1980s. Like, they were good. Like, they were good.
I got to remember that
and
one.
I just feel like, if I don't want them to change the algorithms or the visibility on LinkedIn, because I feel like that's what we lost on Facebook. I feel like that's what we lost on Twitter. And that's just my personal opinion. So yeah, I just feel like when I'm on LinkedIn, it's like being on Sesame Street. Like, people see you, people want to talk to you, people want to engage with you. Twitter, not so much, which is why I'm like barely there. I have presence, but I'm barely there. And Instagram, honestly, has been coming up for me as a secondary to my LinkedIn. I've been enjoying the ability to kind of connect with people on Instagram too. So I have I have a separate channel for all of my L&D focused conversations. I don't mix. I try not to mix, my different channels.
Okay, cool. Now, what I want to do is we have like 8 questions in the Q&A area, but what I'd like to do is just sort of like just go through a round of something, a general question, and then maybe I can bring Tati on and Delia if she's around, or anybody else. But so let's start with you, Devlin. Do you have like one top tip that you could offer about having a LinkedIn profile or just the platform in general?
I guess the top tip would be to make sure that your profile and your page is in order, because that's kind of like, that's your home on LinkedIn. So if someone sees a post you make or a comment you make and they're intrigued, they're going to go to your profile and say, do I want to learn more about this person? If I'm a hiring manager or a potential client, like, is this someone who I want to go to their website? Do I want to reach out to them about an opportunity? But yeah, I think it really depends how you're using LinkedIn. But if you're using it to land opportunities, get your profile in order. Make sure it's keyword optimized.
And that's like basically like what your blog post is talking about, just
Yeah.
exactly that, which is you did an incredible job doing that. I wish I had written that article because it's amazing. It's so good.
Cool, thank you.
Tamika, how about you? Like, do you have like one top tip that you could offer everybody about LinkedIn?
Yeah, my top tip is just to like really take time to nurture your profile page, fill in the various Lord, what is it called? Like your job,
Profile
your
section.
achievements.
Yeah.
Yeah, fill all that stuff in. Take time to do that, and really add some examples of your work. Fill it in with something people can look at, and try to do that to the best of your ability.
No, that's great. You know what? And actually, I'm just going to sort of come back around to that. But Devlin, you were saying in your article about the importance of the recommendations area and the skills and endorsement sections. Like why is that so important?
I mean, to me, that part seems really important because that's, the social proof. So, in your summary, you can talk about, how great you are, how much experience you have, you're award winning or whatever it is, maybe not that one so much. But when hiring managers or recruiters or peers like see what other people have to say about you and that's positive and they're speaking to your strengths and accomplishments, like it carries a different weight, I mean, at least if you're evaluating the source of information, like you're gonna probably trust what someone else says about that person rather than, oh, I'm the greatest ID you've ever seen. So
right. So don't be afraid to to just really like build that out, that piece of your profile.
I love it.
And I ask people for it because, really, I mean, when you meet like a great instructional designer, you work with someone great, your first thought probably isn't like, oh, let me hop on LinkedIn and give them a LinkedIn recommendation. But if that person asks you, it's like, they know you're happy with their work and they're like, oh, hey, can you just drop me a quick LinkedIn recommendation? So I'll just, gently ask people, no worries if you're too busy. And then I should probably do that more. I mean, I don't have that many, but
yeah, no, I think that's really, really helpful. I've done that for people, and I've never solicited that. I do have one recommendation from somebody that it's just really nice to have that on my. It was like a gift or something. It's like, oh, how nice is that? Like she actually wrote something cool about me. So yeah, I totally agree. And do you guys like Rubina? Is that something that you focus on at all?
The recommendations I did in the beginning and now no. I feel like I'm comfortable where I'm at, and so I don't feel like I need to update that and whatnot. One thing I would say, there's two conversations. It feels like we're having one of how to make yourself visible and presentable and kind of up your game and up your brand. But the other side of LinkedIn is also if you're looking for work, right? There's always people that we have in our community that are looking for work. So my advice for that is that when you're working on your profile, don't worry so much about the very, very little things and the, dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Make things look professional, make things look nice, but don't worry so much about filling everything in that profile. It really goes like this. It's the same thing that I tell everybody for their resume. The top part is the gold. Put the best things that you possibly can in that gold section. And I'm looking at mine right now, so that's why I'm turning away from the screen, but that's where you have your cover image. Your cover image should say something about you or your business or your whatever. And that's at the top. That's what people see. Put in whatever title or several titles that you have. That's what people see. Or if you're looking for work, instructional designer looking for work, put it in there. Boom, you get somebody to ping you. It's just out there. Your about section, highlight the crap out of that. Like put in the best of the best that you've ever done in your life right there, and that's your gold section. Then you've got your silver, all of your job experiences and your volunteer work and your all community things, and then your bronze section after that. Take time to work on those recommendations, but it does come with time. Yeah.
Okay, now I've got that's great stuff. I have one just sort of general question, then I want to get to the Q&A, and hopefully maybe we can bring Toddy in because I do want to talk about sort of publishing a little bit. But Devlin, biggest mistake that you see people make on LinkedIn?
Oh, I'm glad you asked this because I wanted to bring something up and I think this fits in nicely. So this was all about profiles, but I do have advice. I don't know if this is controversial. It's about sharing and commenting and stuff. I'd say instead of trying to be right, try to be helpful. Because some people on LinkedIn are very aggressive with their correcting people and, just really trying to shout to everyone, I'm right, I'm the smart one, I'm right. And I don't know how other people perceive that, but for me, it's like, I don't know, it's not great look on the personal branding front. So, I mean, I feel like I fell into that trap too early on when I was posting. I'm like, why are these people saying this? This is like confusing people. Like, no, this, and like getting into it. But I think someone reached out to me, and I don't remember the exact situation, but they were like, just be kind of conscious of like how you're representing yourself here and like how you're getting into it with this person. And I really appreciated that. It was like a wake up moment. I was like, yeah, like what am I doing? Like I'm exposing myself in this way. Like I don't want to like make someone else feel dumb or something. So there's a gentle, better way to go about it probably. And I feel much better on LinkedIn now because I just try to be positive, share resources. And if someone says something I don't agree with, I'm not going to, at least you can tell when someone says something and they like don't know the answer, or when someone like is vehemently saying something like this is right and you don't agree with it, like you're probably not going to change their minds. So it's probably not worth the energy.
No, that's a great point. Tamika, do you have anything as far as biggest mistakes you're seeing for somebody on LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not Facebook. LinkedIn is not Facebook. LinkedIn is not Facebook, and it's okay. It's okay. We don't always have to know what you did at a cookout or LinkedIn is not Facebook, so making sure, I guess and that's just because I have a way more strategic plan for LinkedIn. I treat LinkedIn as LinkedIn. Like these are my business people. Like, these are public opportunities. This is just a more, I don't want to say you can't bring your whole self to it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this is almost like the White House of all of the, and that's a bad, sorry. This is, let's say, this is just a different space on social media than all the other types of social media. So I'll just say that. I think everybody gets what I'm saying.
Yes, it's the not to take away your White House thing. That was fantastic. It's the business professional platform. That's what LinkedIn was designed for, right? And so that's what that space is. Keep that in mind. Bear that in mind. Have professional conversations. Keep the private things to Facebook. That's where
Nice.
Yeah, and I think just an aside to that is, although I know everyone has something to offer and to sell, and that's great, this is not the sleazy sales. I can't get into that. You know what I mean? So it's just like create authentic relationships that will ultimately lead to the opportunity to offer something, but just jumping out there to offer me something and I didn't necessarily ask that, or you're just a voice. I've had a lot of voiceover people. Love y'all, bless y'all, wonderful, but they only want to connect with me to hopefully get the next sale or get the next opportunity. And it's like, you would have gotten that anyway if you just connected with me just to connect with me. Yeah. I have those kinds of very different old school pet peeves. So
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, like sort of in the side chat, Taruna has been really kind of, I think a lot of her comments have been focused on that level of authenticity. And I do think that when I browse on LinkedIn and I look at folks, I appreciate that authenticity. The stuff that I don't like are kind of the canned stories that there's sort of a certain way of posting that is just going to lead you to this like, you're just totally like fishing for, some,
and we know.
Yeah.
We know what that feels like. And that's not, and I do want to disclaim, I'm not putting out voiceover people. I was just saying that was an example.
Totally.
But, you know, I get a variety of people who just want to connect with me to sell their thing or get them put on or something. And that's not going to work with me.
Oh yeah, totally. All right, you guys. So, Toddy, I'm not sure if I'm going to get you in because it's 8:48 and we've got a bunch of questions in Q&A. Unless anybody on the screen wants to jump out, I kind of want to just jump. You want to jump out, Rubina?
I can jump out and let Toddy in. Yeah, that's
okay,
fine.
cool.
Thank you guys, and thank you. It was really nice sharing this.
No, it's great having you in. So let's get into these questions because I would really love to get some of these answered. Oh, let's see here. Actually, there we go. All right, Toddy, I'm inviting you in, and we're going with question number 1. Let's start with you, Tamika. Who do you follow on LinkedIn and why?
A lot of the giants in learning and development space. So a lot of people who wrote books, Connie Malamed, you know, starting out there with the greats, you know, and then it just kind of, I don't have my list in front of me. I'm sorry, but I could probably put a list together and definitely share. But people who I know are putting out content, Kara North, a lot of the TLD cast folks, Toddy, you know.
You follow
Louise,
Devlin, right?
Devlin, yeah, I'm a Devlin fan. You know, a lot of the heavy hitter, Melissa Millaway, a lot of people who are putting out great content. Cindy Lucas, a lot of good people out there.
Nice. How about you, Devlin? Like, is there anybody in particular you want to shout out, like that you follow?
Yeah, so you know, I'm an e-learning designer, so I take a lot of inspo from Tim Slade and Karen North, and they're both, or not Karen North. I mean, I do follow Karen North, and she's wonderful, but Kath Ellis, she's been doing some like live streams like every day. She's been like super active, bringing on experts. So it's been really good following her on LinkedIn lately. But
nice. Hey, Toddy.
Hi there. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, well, I can hear you. So, like, how about you, Toddy? Who do you follow on LinkedIn?
Actually, some of the same people that Devlin follows. I mean, I love following Kath Ellis. Actually, I like reading what Megan Torres posts because she always has really interesting, kind of highly technical things. So, yeah, I pretty much the same thing. I love following Sam Rogers. He's always fun. He'll post fun questions. You know, I jump in and answer a lot of Sam's stuff, and he has a really amazing network too. So.
Wow. So like, actually that's like there's consistently kind of a group that we're mentioning here. So that's going to be, I'll put that into the show notes. That's really, really interesting. I want to answer this question for Kim. She's asking, it seems like it takes me several hours on LinkedIn to get the quality and quantity of information and networking that I get from 15 minutes on Twitter. And we talked about this a little bit before, but any tips on using it faster or more efficiently?
Using LinkedIn faster?
Yeah, using LinkedIn faster. You want to take a stab at that one, Tamika?
The posting, like you would on any social media platform. The posting is quick, and then LinkedIn's latest edition, stories, is as quick as I think you're gonna get, in having impactful engagement and visibility.
So this is one of the things I want to add about that I know with LinkedIn is that when you're in there and if your audience is curated correctly, you're staying focused, right? You're staying focused on your professional objectives. You're staying focused on topics that are related to your career. When I'm on Twitter, you know, I mean, by design, I follow, you know, sports people, comedians, whoever else. And so there's just like this constant sort of stream of me like either laughing or weeping whenever I go onto Twitter. So it is kind of a different experience in that way. LinkedIn, I know that I'll consistently get, you know, like instructional design content or content about producing media, which is, you know, the stuff that I'm interested in. Yeah. And I don't know, Devlin, Toddy, how much do you guys, I don't know how much you do on Twitter, but do you have anything to add to that at all?
I do very little on Twitter. I don't get a lot of follows on Twitter. To me it's distracting. And the thing that I really like about LinkedIn is it's focused. You know, I see Mike Taylor's really cool posts. You know, he's always got great tools that you can grab for free. I mean, he's great with that. it's so, and Devlin too, but it's just more focused. It's much more oriented to what I do in my day job. So I don't feel as guilty when I get on there during the day because it's something that actually helps build me up in my role. Twitter just, to me, it's just a distraction. Way too much political stuff that I don't care to hear at the moment.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Nice.
And it's my platform. I mean, I've been on there since 2012. I consider myself a consultant, and I've been building it literally from 2012 on. This year's been more focused. I took a class on how to build more of a business following. Kind of how to curate that. I actually spent the money and took a class on it, which I think was great. And I've had,
Wait, so Toddy, was that specific to LinkedIn? Was it specific? The class was okay. Nice.
Yeah. It was actually called LinkedIn Leaders Academy, and it was really built on being able to look at the analytics and the log, the algorithms behind the scenes, to focus on what you wanted your target persona to look like. I haven't done any cleaning out of any of my followers. I've left them all there, but much more marketing strategic with respect to your personal brand. And I think that's helped a lot. I've had a couple of posts this year, one that I created myself and one that I commented on that have just sent my numbers through the roof a couple different times.
And that's why I wanted to talk about with you was can you talk about that experience? Because, I'm not sure whether or not Tamika or Devlin, you've published something that has been featured or anything like that, but Toddy did that recently, I think, with a couple articles. So can you just tell us about that?
Yeah, actually the most recent was I got picked up by the LinkedIn newsfeed and had something reposted, which was a real shock to me. Actually, I didn't know about it until Christine Belzy told me. I'm like, wow, I'm reposted on LinkedIn News, which I thought was interesting. And it ended up creating a discussion with somebody who, is kind of a leader in that arena. It was not related to instructional design at all. It was related to some of the social impact that we have and some of our social responsibilities. And so maybe that's why it ended up being posted, is because very heartfelt for me. It's like I really care about some of the things that are happening out there with Black Lives Matter. And I made a post about us as allies, and so I ended up getting reposted, which I thought was pretty cool, because if I'm going to be reposted for anything, I want it to be as an ally. My job is great, but I got that under control, and I've had it under control since 2012. I had a ton of recommendations posted then that were very heartfelt and unexpected. Observations about me that I wouldn't have talked about for myself, about how passionate I am. And that's cool when people say those things about you, because you don't really want to put that in your profile, right? I mean, I guess some people do, but it's nicer when somebody else validates it. So
nice. Okay.
Boom.
That's awesome. Yeah. Tamika, just real quick, Simon is asking about a recommendation for a connection policy. Now I know we've talked about it a few times already. You're pretty much open to everybody, but is there anything specific where as soon as you see it, you say, nope, ignore?
Yes, but I don't know if this may be a safe space for me to actually say how that happened. So, hit me up on LinkedIn. We could talk behind the set.
There you go. Okay, hit up Tamika directly to get that one answered. No, that's totally fine.
I think first starting out for me was having a very strict connection policy. But as you get comfortable in your space and in your craft, you start to kind of relax that as you go. I heard some folks said some things brilliant in the room, like connecting with schools or scholars or research firms or whatever have you, that just kind of up level your knowledge about your craft or what you're doing or what could be possible, stuff you're not even into yet, AR, VR, whatever it is that is still in the realm, in the world of L&D.
Yeah.
But perhaps may not be exactly an instructional designer or a e-learning developer. That is now starting to fill my boat, right? But performers, preachers, pastors, great, wonderful. love you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just not maybe perhaps in the circle or realm that I'm focusing my LinkedIn strategy on, or my connection policy on.
Mhm.
So a lot of folks who may even this, I will say this. So folks who perhaps don't even um, fill out their LinkedIn profile enough for me to know what they're about, or they don't have a picture, stuff like that. Easy no for me,
Right,
I'll
right, right, right.
pass.
Yeah.
But if you took the time to kind of, let me know what you're about, but yeah, so you have some folks who are in that circle. You have some outliers to that circle. You might even have some real far-fetched. I love Cheddar. I love seeing them,
Yeah.
release videos that of stuff that I didn't even like. Just it helps my creative space. It blows my
Sure.
mind a little bit to see, some Cheddar videos of stuff that I'm just like, I wouldn't have seen that in Facebook or any
Yeah.
other, it just it's cool. It blows my mind. So yeah, people are going to do different things or
Yeah.
use these platforms differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Do what floats your boat, do what's
Yeah.
good for you, and do what is in your gut.
Yeah, I think that's a great guideline. Thank you. So how about you guys? Do you think that having a consistent presence on LinkedIn is important? Kim is kind of asking that question. Like, she might go on for a little bit and then drop off for a couple of weeks. I mean, how important is it? Just even from, I guess, from an algorithm perspective, do you have to really be on there all the time to get the most out of it? Is that relevant?
Sorry, I would love to answer this and the others, but I have a meeting I have to hop onto, so I have to part ways.
Okay.
Oh, Devlin.
See you later. Thanks for coming in.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. What do you guys think?
I
Tamika, Tani?
It's a daily practice for me. I
Yeah.
consider it my daily routine to just check it. Your algorithms go up when you post on somebody else's post. That's something that I'm starting to learn about LinkedIn. Your algorithms go up when you respond to a recruiter. They basically see you at the top of their list rather than somebody that says, no, I'm not interested. Even if you're only slightly interested, that can actually push your algorithm up just by saying yes. So, it's all that data analytics behind the scenes. So I think it's important to engage on a regular basis, and I'm just learning that myself.
Yeah.
So
I definitely check it every day. It's not like I gotta check it every day, but
Yeah.
it's just like a casual, this is my family, these are my people, this is my
Mhm.
tribe.
Mhm.
So it's natural to me to get on LinkedIn. And then I use LinkedIn for other purposes too. So the LinkedIn editing team, I like to check in with what they're doing, as well as LinkedIn also is a news place for me, like knowing that certain people have COVID, or
Yeah.
that
It's a
news,
good business.
breaking news, it has helped to aggregate my news versus
Yeah.
because I don't look at the news otherwise.
Yeah, there you go. No, that's a great point.
It's more business focused, which I think that helps, because it kind of takes you out of that political mindset, and you say,
Yeah.
here's the
Yeah.
business impact. That kind of relates to what I do. So I like their feed too.
Yeah. No, and I do think that there is a lot to be said about LinkedIn as kind of a professional development resource that keeps you focused. And that's kind of, it aligns with what I was hoping, what I try to make sure that TLDC is along the same lines, where when you go to TLDC content, when you go to any of our discussions, it's keeping you focused on your career and your professional development objectives. And with that, I'm going to have to wrap things up because it's past 9 o'clock or 9 o'clock Pacific time. You guys, thank you so much. I'm going to have, I'm asking a huge favor here. If you guys aren't already in the Slack group, please jump in. I'm going to post some of the questions we haven't answered yet in there to see if we can start some of those discussions. If you guys can, jump in at some point and check those out and help answer them, I would love it. But other than that, thanks for the discussion. We probably could have done a whole nother hour on this topic. And I should have had everybody post their LinkedIn URLs in the chat, but sorry, we didn't do that. But thanks everybody for joining us today. Have a great weekend. And Next week, I've got Lee Lefevre on. I've got another community discussion coming up. Yeah, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see you next week. All right, you guys. Thank you.